Imagine walking into your cruise cabin after a long day in port, expecting a fresh sanctuary, but instead, your steward is barely making eye contact. You might think they're just busy, but the truth is far more calculated. Your cabin steward is silently grading you from the moment you step on board. Most passengers make one massive mistake on day one that lands them on the difficult guest list before the first dinner. Today, we revealing the 12 insider secrets cabin stewards wish you knew, and why secret number 7 shocks even the most loyal cruisers. 1. The name game. Using your steward's name from the very first interaction is the ultimate psychological hack to get VIP service. Most passengers treat the crew like background furniture, but the second you acknowledge their identity, you stop being just another cabin number. On a recent Royal Caribbean sailing, a veteran steward named Maria admitted that out of 30 cabins, only 2 families actually bothered to learn her name on day 1. The result? Those 2 families received double the towel animals. Their ice buckets were never empty, and their special requests were handled instantly. Most cruisers don't realize that stewards are essentially grading your humanity on embarkation day. If you call them "Hey you" or just "Steward," they switch into robot mode, doing only the bare minimum required by their contract. But when you use their name, they feel a sense of personal accountability to you. It creates a friendship dynamic that leads to intuitive service you simply cannot buy. They see hundreds of new faces every week, so your effort to remember them stands out like a beacon in a sea of demanding tourists. Write their name down on your phone or check their name tag immediately. Then make it a point to use it at least twice every single time you see them in the hallway. 2. The power of the handwritten note. Stop calling guest services for minor room requests. It is actually the slowest and most frustrating way to get what you want. A handwritten note left on your cabin desk is the secret weapon of pro cruisers. I spoke with a steward on an NCL ship who was constantly frustrated by guests calling the front desk 4 or 5 times just for extra hangers or a different pillow. Most passengers think the front desk is faster, but the truth is, it creates a formal maintenance ticket that the steward has to document and formally close out, adding 15 minutes of annoying paperwork to their already grueling shift. If that guest had simply left a sticky note on the vanity, the steward could have grabbed the items from their card in 5 seconds while they were already in the room cleaning. This is about working with their system instead of against it. When you bypass the formal corporate chain for small things, your steward sees you as an ally who respects their time. But here's the reveal. Stewards often have a stash of the good stuff, extra chocolates, better pillows, or high-end toiletries that they only give to the guests who make their lives easier. Pack a small pad of sticky notes and a pen, and leave a polite request directly on the mirror for anything you need during the morning service. 3. The 10-minute tidy. Your steward is on board to sanitize your cabin, not to act as your personal laundry folder or toy organizer. There is a massive difference between a dirty room and a messy room, and stewards have a specific name for the latter: the explosion cabin. Imagine a room where shoes are kicked into the center of the floor, wet towels are buried under clothes, and kids' toys are scattered like landmines. When a steward walks into an explosion cabin, they are forced to spend 20 minutes just moving your belongings around before they can even touch a cleaning rag. On a Carnival ship, a crew member explained that a tidy room takes 10 minutes to polish to perfection, while a messy one takes 30 minutes just to reach the surfaces. The consequence for you? If your room is a disaster, the steward literally does not have the time to do the extras. They won't have time to polish the balcony glass, deep clean the vanity, or leave those elaborate towel animals you love. You are essentially paying for a service you are preventing them from performing. Most passengers think, "I'm on vacation, I shouldn't have to clean," but you are actually sabotaging your own hygiene by blocking their access. Spend exactly 5 minutes clearing the floor and vanity before you head to the morning buffet, so your steward can focus on deep cleaning your space. 4. The shower curtain hygiene secret. This is a tiny detail that almost no one thinks about, but it's one of the biggest tells of a considerate passenger. You must pull your shower curtain closed after every use. Most cruisers finish their shower and leave the curtain bunched up at one end of the rod. On a cruise ship, the bathrooms are tiny, windowless, and incredibly humid. When that curtain stays bunched up, water gets trapped in the folds, creating a breeding ground for mold and mildew in less than 24 hours. A steward from Princess Cruises told me that they can tell instantly if a guest is going to be trouble just by looking at the shower curtain. If it's bunched up, the steward has to spend their limited time scrubbing at mildew that could have been avoided. This leads to that faint, musty, damp smell that plagues so many older cabins. The consequence is simple: a less than fresh bathroom for the rest of your trip. But when you pull it shut, it dries instantly, stays clean, and shows the steward you understand how the ship works. It's a silent signal that you are a pro who knows how to maintain a cabin. Always spread the shower curtain completely across the rod after your morning shower to ensure it dries properly and keeps your bathroom smelling like a five-star hotel. 5. Consolidating port day trash. Bringing back trash from a shore excursion is perfectly normal, but how you leave it in your room can cause your steward major clutter anxiety. Stewards suffer from the fear of throwing away something you actually intended to keep. Imagine you leave a crumpled takeout bag from a local restaurant on the desk, right next to a pile of excursion flyers and a souvenir bag. Your steward has no idea if that crumpled bag contains a valuable receipt, a small souvenir, or just half-eaten fries. On a Royal Caribbean ship, a steward mentioned they often leave questionable trash behind just to be safe, which leads to your cabin feeling cluttered and dirty by the end of the day. Most passengers think the steward will just know it's trash, but the truth is, they are trained to be extremely cautious to avoid guest complaints about stolen or lost items. When you consolidate your port day trash, you are giving them the green light to clear your space without fear. It saves them critical minutes during their busiest time of the day and ensures your vanity is actually clean when you return from dinner. Place all your port day trash, including flyers, empty bottles, and food containers, directly into the bin or a single consolidated bag to signal that it's ready to be discarded. 6. The Day 1 Tip Strategy. While most passengers wait until the very last night of the cruise to hand out extra tips, the real pros know that a Day 1 tip is the ultimate game changer. I am not talking about the automatic gratuities that go to the whole crew. I am talking about a small, upfront cash gesture. An MSC steward recently shared that whenever a guest hands him a $20 bill on embarkation day with a simple thank you in advance, that cabin immediately becomes his #1 priority for the rest of the week. While every room gets cleaned, the priority rooms are the ones that get serviced first in the morning, receive extra ice without asking, and always have their favorite snacks replenished. The psychology is simple. You have established a relationship of mutual respect before they've even done a lick of work. It's a signal that you are a VIP guest who is invested in their success. But here's the catch. It's not just about the money. It's about the timing. A tip on day 7 is a reward for past work, but a tip on day 1 is an investment in your future comfort. Prepare a small envelope with $10 or $20 and a brief note, like looking forward to a great week, and hand it to your steward during your first introduction. 7. The genuine check-in. This is the rarest gesture in the cruise industry, and it costs you absolutely nothing. You must ask your steward about their own day. Most guests see their steward as a service delivery robot, but these crew members are often working 4 to 6 months straight without a single day off, living in tiny windowless cabins far from their families. A steward from the Philippines shared a heartbreaking reality. In a 6-month contract where he saw thousands of faces, only 3 passengers ever asked him about his family back home or how he was actually doing. Those 3 passengers weren't just guests to him, they were friends. He would move heaven and earth to ensure their cruise was perfect. When you break that service barrier and show genuine empathy, the steward's loyalty to you becomes unbreakable. They will look out for you in ways you didn't even know you needed, like warning you about a loud deck party near your room or making sure you get the best seating in the lounge. It transforms the entire energy of your vacation from a transaction to a connection. Next time you see your steward in the hallway, skip the request for more towels for a moment and ask, "How are you doing today? Is it a busy week for you?" 8. The turn-down service shuffle. One of the most awkward things you can do to your steward is stay in your room while they are trying to perform turn-down service. Most passengers think they are being helpful by staying out of the way on the balcony or trying to chat while the steward makes the bed. But the truth is, you are actually stressing them out. Stewards have what they call the golden hour, the narrow window between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. when most guests are at dinner. In that 2-hour span, they have to flip 15 to 20 cabins. If you are in the room, they have to work around you. which doubles the time it takes to service your cabin. I spoke with a steward who mentioned that hovering guests are their biggest daily frustration. It disrupts their muscle memory and their workflow. The consequence for you? A rush job. If they are worried about intruding on your space, they won't be as thorough with the cleaning. They just want to get in, work their magic, and leave you with a perfect sanctuary before you return for bed. If you see your steward's cart in the hallway during the evening, take it as a sign to head to a bar or lounge for 15 minutes to give them the space they need. 9. The language bridge. If you want to see your steward's face light up like a Christmas tree, learn 3 simple words in their native language. Most passengers expect the crew to speak perfect English, which they do, but they rarely expect anyone to acknowledge their own heritage. I heard a story about a steward on a celebrity ship who was visibly exhausted near the end of a long contract. A guest simply said "Salamat," which means thank you in Tagalog, and the steward was nearly brought to tears. In that 1 second, she felt seen not just as a worker, but as a person with a home and a history. This tiny gesture breaks down the invisible wall between passenger and crew instantly. It shows a level of humility and curiosity that 99% of cruisers lack. When you respect their culture enough to try a few words, they will respect your comfort enough to go above and beyond every single day. You don't need to be fluent. Just showing the effort is enough to make you their favorite guest of the month. Look at your steward's name tag to identify their home country. Then look up how to say hello and thank you in their language to use the very next morning. 10. The routine reliability factor. Your steward's biggest challenge isn't the cleaning, it is the scheduled dance. They secretly love passengers who have a predictable routine. Most cruisers think they can just leave the cabin whenever they feel like it. But the truth is, stewards plan their entire day around your habits. If you go to breakfast at 8:30 a.m. every day, they know exactly when they can slip in and get your room done. But if you suddenly decide to sleep in until noon on a sea day without warning, you throw their entire floor's workflow into chaos. On a Princess cruise, a steward admitted that she had mental notes on every guest's routine. She knew the couple in 7042 always went to the gym at 7 a.m., so she hit their room first. The family in 8156 always slept late, so she saved them for last. When you are unpredictable, you risk missing your service entirely or having the steward knock while you are in the middle of a nap. Predictability equals efficiency, and efficiency equals a better serviced room for you. Try to keep your out-of-cabin times consistent, especially in the mornings, so your steward can confidently schedule your room for a thorough cleaning. 11. The face-to-face goodbye. Disembarkation morning is pure chaos, which is exactly why the final goodbye is the most impactful thing you can do for your steward. Most passengers are in such a rush to get off the ship that they completely ignore the person who spent the last 7 days taking care of them. I spoke with a steward who worked for 2 years and said he could count on one hand the number of passengers who actually sought him out to say a personal thank you on the final morning. It isn't about the money at this point. It is about human acknowledgement. After a week of invisibly supporting your vacation, a 2-minute conversation where you look them in the eye and acknowledge their hard work validates everything they did. It is the perfect capstone to the relationship you've built. Stewards remember these moments long after the cruise ends. It's the difference between being a customer and being a guest they truly enjoyed serving. On your last evening, ask your steward what time they'll be working the next morning. Then make sure to find them for a quick handshake and a final thank you before you head to the gangway. 12. Respecting the afternoon break window. Just because you on vacation doesn't mean your steward is exhausted. You must respect their afternoon break. Most passengers think stewards are available 24/7. But the truth is they work grueling split shifts. Their only real chance to rest, eat, and call their families is during this sacred window between 1:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. I spoke with a steward who recalled a guest who called repeatedly during this time for extra towels that weren't urgent. Because the steward was on his break, another crew member had to handle it, creating unnecessary friction among the team. When you realize that your steward is likely napping in a tiny, crowded cabin just a few decks below you, you start to see why those afternoon requests are so frustrating. If it isn't a true emergency, let it wait until the evening turn down. Respecting their downtime shows you see them as a human being who needs rest, not just a service button. If you realize you need something in the mid-afternoon, Ask yourself if it can wait until 5 p.m. If it can, wait. Your steward will appreciate the extra hour of sleep more than you know. Now that you know the secrets to becoming a legendary guest, it is time to make sure you re-prepared for everything else the cruise lines don't tell you. If you found these tips helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more ways to cruise smarter. Drop a comment with your favorite steward story. We love hearing them. And before you book your next trip,